Remember the time a mainline Pokemon game was announced for the Nintendo Switch? How excited we all were about all the possibilities and awesomeness we were gonna get, thinking, whoa, this is the first time we ever had a mainline Pokemon game on a home console. Are we gonna get a free roam open world game? Maybe a Breath of the Wild type of thing? Pokemon's equivalent to Mario Odyssey? Well, all the hopes, all the dreams were crushed as soon as Pokemon Sword and Shield released. What was supposed to be a Pokemon's debut to home consoles basically ended up becoming a 3DS game ported to Nintendo Switch, with a little hint of an actual open world game, through the DLCs and the wild area, which honestly wasn't even that impressive. But fear not! Earlier this year, Nintendo and Game Freak has announced Pokemon Legends Arceus, and judging from the trailer they released, there's hope after all. Hope for a Pokemon game that's worthy of being in the Switch's catalog of best games ever. With that one trailer, a spark of hope ignited across all the Nintendo fans. Granted, we haven't gotten much information on the game, but here in YouTube, there's a lot of couch potatoes and lazy asses who likes to make up predictions and demands because they got nothing better to do with their lives. And lucky for you, I'm one of them. Okay, not to be a downer, but all Pokemon games have followed the same linear story structure ever since the game's inception. Aside from a couple of games like Let's Go Eevee, Pokemon Snap, and Pokemon Ranger. But those are the kind of games that branch off the mainline Pokemon game series. But if you're talking about a heavily advertised mainline Pokemon game, Legends of Arceus would be the best opportunity to start with a clean slate. They're already setting it up as a pre-Pokemon League era, so they have so much to work with. It would be such a shame to just have the same story flow as the other games, which is basically start from your house, meet your rival, get your starter, and battle your way to the top until you get all the badges. I'm not super deep into Pokemon lore. The very first Pokemon game I played was Emerald, and honestly, it's felt the same since then to me. And so far, it's the same structure since 1996. It's time to change it up. Maybe you can start off as a researcher working for a professor and you venture off in the unknown empty regions full of unknown Pokemons, and you're one of the first people to ever, bond with a Pokemon, cementing the creation of a relationship between Pokemon and person. Perhaps the origin of the Pokemon trainer, or how Pokemon battles and people's utilization of Pokemons came to be. I mean, that's the most likely scenario that they're going for, judging from what Nintendo's website is saying about the game. I'm not super deep into Pokemon lore, so these might have already been established in the series, but again, I'm speaking in the scope of just the Pokemon games. The trailers seem to be showing a vast world and a camera angle that hasn't been seen in any mainline Pokemon games, besides the wild areas and the DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield. This has potential to be the biggest world that's ever been showcased in a Pokemon video game. Like, ever. The thing is, usually in open world video games, bigger doesn't always translate to better. Open world games tend to fall in the hellhole that's emptiness and superficial tasks, just for the sake of filling up the wide area that you venture out in. All these tasks and activities usually end up making the world feel more robotic and emptier than it already is. Does a large open world Pokemon fall into the same trap? How could it? You literally have 800 plus Pokemons to put into the game. Each game offers a dime a dozen of Pokemons, and they never get boring. Let me tell you a story. One day I was just roaming around the Isle of Armor and I saw a Pikachu for the first time in the game, and I literally exploded. Because Pikachu! Each of these pocket monsters give a sense of wonder and excitement. If you have these things running around over your giant world, think of all the moments you can create. For example, when you venture out in the grassy fields and come across corches of burnt grass, and when you look around some more, you can see a wild Rapidash appear with its burning glory, and you try to chase it and catch it. Even a Pokemon as simple as a fire horse can create a big sense of awesomeness and gravitas. Each Pokemon put into the game can serve as another activity that the player can venture out in. And the legendaries. Don't get me started with the legendaries. The potential of having the legendaries in this bigger scale is just magnificent to imagine and think about. just racing towards a Latios or a Latias in the hopes of chasing them all over the map, while using a Pokemon that you yourself can ride with, like a Charizard. Imagine chasing down Latios while riding a Charizard, flying through the fields. It's just so awesome. Or imagine coming across a giant Pokemon for the first time and avoiding its footsteps while you give out commands to your Pokemon to attack the Pokemon. You might think, this sounds too ambitious. It sounds like a dream. But it isn't. Other games in the Switch's library were way more technically and graphically complicated than this could be. I'm not asking for Witcher levels of graphics, but just please don't give us Pokemons in the wild that move like 3 frames per second. Come on, Nintendo and Game Freak, make use of all that merch cash you've been earning. They have the budget and the team to do these things. The Switch is more capable of running games like these, as proven by Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. Pokemon already has a distinct enough art style to excuse itself from not so fancy smanchy graphics. You don't need super duper detailed reflections or solar flares. I'm 100% sure the art style can carry the look of the game, just as long as it's executed wonderfully. And neatly, of course. The map of the game won't even be the biggest thing out there. In comparison, Breath of the Wild's map is 5,300 acres, or 8.3 square miles. That's a pretty good size, but does Pokemon necessarily have to follow that? Of course not. Does Legends Arceus necessarily have to fill the entire game with the entire Pokemon roster? Of course not. Yeah, I did say a big open world Pokemon game would have the potential to be really great, but big in the sense of Pokemon games. The Sinnoh region in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum is one of the biggest worlds in the series of Pokemon games. But is the world something you can compare something like GTA 5 to? Of course not! So when I say big, I mean big in the circle of Pokemon games. Yes, a vast open world for Pokemon would be awesome, if done well, if the biomes are distributed right, and if the Pokemons don't seem so inorganic as how the trailers make them out to be. What else could Game Freak do to emulate real encounters? Real-time battles! God, this is really something that Pokemon games are lacking. I don't want a turn-by-turn basis just like any other Pokemon game. You don't necessarily have to control the Pokemon, although as shown by Astral Chain, a host and a monster can both be controlled in the same time. And the mechanic works. Check the game out, it's pretty underrated. Pokemon and the developers don't have the luxury of just making movesets for like 5 monsters. In order to do that, they literally have to do that for every Pokemon in the game, which is not possible, it's not realistic. So the next best thing, don't integrate pre-recorded cutscenes in the battle and have it happen in real time. Oh, you see a Rhydon? You run towards it, throw out your Pokemon ball, and just have the battle commence. You don't necessarily have to go through all that exclamation mark stuff and like have the Pokemon just face each other while you wait for your next move. No, don't do that. What they can make you do instead is pick moves your Pokemon can do while you control yourself as well. Perhaps the wild Pokemon tries to attack you as well, so you dodge its attacks and your Pokemon follows that up with its own attack that you chose. Basically commanding your Pokemon when to attack and what to do while you're also taking control of yourself. Don't make the battles static, make them more along the lines of being able to move around as you yell out attacks for your Pokemon to do. This creates a sense of reality and groundedness where you feel like you're in the heat of battle and not just watching a bunch of monsters fighting while your character hides in the corner. Is it unfair for me to suggest these things? I don't think so. Smaller, less profitable companies were capable of doing things that Pokemon can do but failed to. I hate to say it, but the Pokemon games is banking off the sense of familiarity and nostalgia for the past decade. Their past games refuse to evolve and... Look, let's try to play devil's advocate here. Let's say, oh, it's because Nintendo's consoles don't have the power to do something bigger, or Pokemon games are merely handheld exclusives. But now that the Switch has come, they have no excuse. They could have done better with Sword and Shield. They showed promise of that through the DLCs and the wild area again, but that's literally the bare minimum of what they're capable of doing. Over the past years, ever since Sword and Shield has been announced, all Game Freak and Nintendo has been doing is laying on wasted potential. Their chance is here again. They can create an entirely new Pokemon game or a half-assed one, it's really up to them. Don't get me wrong, I love Pokemon. I grew up on the games and they helped me through really dark times, but I just find it ironic that the games have refused to evolve these past years despite all the resources that they have. Is it a matter of just being comfortable because they're already an established IP? Or is it a matter of greed and doing the bare minimum while having maximum profit? We'll never know. But the opportunity is there, the potential is there, and it's really up to them whether or not they want to make Pokemon Legends Arceus a new Pokemon game or just another Pokemon game.